This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Okay, everybody, it's October. It is my absolute favorite time of year. But it's also the time of year when the days get shorter and the nights get longer. The darkness is here to stay for a little while. I was just talking to my therapist last week about setting up good habits before daylight savings hits in November. Because if I get the good habits set up now, by the time the winter is in full effect, I can try to combat the winter blues with my routines. That's what my therapist is good for. You know, she's always helping me figure out the tools I need to get through the tough times. So if you're interested in starting therapy, definitely give BetterHelp a try. It is all online. It's super convenient. They match you with a therapist. You can change therapists at any time. Head over to betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 for 10% off your first month.
This podcast is an unscripted, unedited conversation about true crime. We take the cases very seriously, but I don't take myself seriously at all, and neither should you. Welcome to Wife of Crime.
So, Russ, we talked about Ed Gein all the way back in 2019. He was our third episode on the podcast. But now the new Monsters series is out, and I think it's time that we sift through what is fact and what is fiction, so that way everyone is clear. Did Ryan Murphy do this case justice? That's what we're talking about today. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wife of Crime, a true crime podcast where I tell my husband Russ true crime stories and he reacts to them. Hold on. I said him.
How's that funny? Hem?
Then I started laughing about how I was wheezing and I couldn't. Let me start over. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wife of Crime, a true crime podcast where I tell my husband Russ true crime stories and he reacts to them.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Wife of Crime.
You do that pretty well, I have to say.
Yes.
There's some impressions.
I shall do it the best that I can, so Mother likes it.
I have to say, there are certain impressions that you're like really good at. But not every impression.
I do yours really good.
No, according to our listeners, a few of them, actually, that sounds like the same voice that you use for me.
No, yours is like, what are you doing? Why are you not doing what I want to do? Just all the time. Don't do that.
Like Edith from All in the Family. I feel like you think I sound like Edith from All in the Family in your head.
Well, any woman that nags kind of sounds like that in my head.
Okay. Well,
oh, fuck, I broke character.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to do it the whole episode.
Oh, please don't do it the whole episode. That would be so annoying for everyone, including me.
I don't think it'll be that bad.
It would. I'd have to sit here and wait for you to finish a sentence. Oh my God. So annoying. So this is a bonus episode. This isn't our normal episode. That's going to be coming out next week. But this episode is a bonus episode talking about Ryan Murphy's Monsters series on Ed Gein.
Yep.
And we're going to go through fact versus fiction. Because, I have to say, overall, it was right?
I don't really know if we can say that it was that good because we didn't even finish the last episode. We got like 10 minutes in and we were like, we're over this.
Yeah, by the last episode, I was done. I think the series overall was okay, but they did a lot wrong that I wasn't a fan of. But there was some of it that I thought they did right. And there were some things that were truly disturbing and terrifying. And this case is disturbing and terrifying. So it makes sense. But yeah, I just feel like they really missed the mark in some ways.
Yeah, so this was inspired by a true story
Mm-hmm.
because it's not the actual story. They kept some things in there that were factual, but they added a lot of stuff to make it more entertaining.
Yeah.
So it's not really his story. I would say, like, if someone was giving you a very brief description of what the show is about, then it's correct. Like, this guy digs up bodies, he cuts their face off, he puts them on, he pretends to be his mom or whatever.
Yeah.
He has a fascination with his mom, then he kills a few girls.
Yeah.
So, like, it'd be like, yeah, that's Ed Gein.
Yeah, that's I feel like this was definitely not a biopic. Like, you can't say that this was accurate at all. There was a lot.
I don't know if Mother would approve.
Yeah, I don't think Mother would approve either. We covered this case, right? We covered it back in 2019. It was like, I think it was our 3rd episode of the show. But if you look back on our list, it's our 2nd episode that's there now because our 1st episode, which was Ed Kemper, was taken off because of bad sound.
Well, we had a lot of bad sounds in the beginning.
We did, but that one was unfixable.
Yeah, Jess likes very high pitch and tinny sound. So, like, you could think if you're listening to the radio, Jess would have the treble all the way up and the bass all the way down.
Well, that's not the case anymore because I've changed all of our episodes to sound better.
Yeah, now it's good.
And that one couldn't be fixed. So we're planning. Well, I'm planning.
Well, we think it's good. Like, if an audio person, like, really analyzed it, we're doing our best.
Yeah, we're doing our best. But I'm planning to redo the Ed Kemper case.
Oh.
Yes. Because the fact is, you and I have gotten way better at podcasting since then. Like this Ed Gein episode was good, but it was, for us to listen to it, it's cringy because you and I have just gotten so much better. I've gotten way better at storytelling. I've really honed in on my storytelling skills. I've gotten way better at research. We've just got a better chemistry.
See, folks, she was about to say something I got better at, and she couldn't think of nothing, and she moved on. What a piece of shit.
That was so funny. I didn't even mean it like that.
Wow.
I was more saying that
she was like, and you got,
I was more saying our chemistry has gotten better.
And now someone's going to be like, I can't believe he called his wife a piece of shit.
Do you agree, though, our chemistry has gotten better? I do.
I think episodes are less cringy than the earlier ones, but I don't listen to our new ones that much either because I still cringe.
You still cringe at all of it?
Every time I talk, I'm like, shut up.
Okay. Well, we covered Ed Gein back then. Many people have covered Ed Gein. This story is very big in true crime. I feel like you can find a full summary of the case or listen to our episode because I do, go into detail in our episode. But you can find this case and get all the details everywhere. So I'm not going to do like an overview of the case, but we're just going to go through and talk about what was fact and what was fiction. Because I think that anybody who isn't typically a true crime consumer, like people that we know that like are into horror, but don't really listen to true crime, you'd be very misled by this Ed Gein series. And you would think that there was all this other shit going on that really wasn't there.
I saw a lot of people post about it, and they thought all of it was actually true. And had I not been forced to do a podcast with you, I probably would think all that is true too.
You would, 100%.
Or I would have probably stopped watching that after like the first episode. I'm like, I don't know about this. But I liked it more as it went on.
You did?
Yeah. And then the last episode, I don't know, 10 minutes in, and I'm like, I don't even, forget it.
I feel like the beginning was decent. The middle was okay. The end was eh. And in the middle, there was a lot of problematic things. We're not going to do a summary of the case, but I've gone through and picked out everything that the show got right, everything the show completely made up and embellished, and then things that were completely left out, because there are a couple things that the show left out. So what the show got right. So the show definitely got Augusta's religious obsession right. And that lady who played her, I forgot her name. You guys will comment and tell me
She's
what
from
her name
Roseanne.
is. From Roseanne. She did a great job. She played that role really well because that in real life, Augusta was obsessed with her Christianity and she weaponized it. And she turned her boys into recluses. She refused to allow them to have friends. They were completely secluded in this farmhouse, and they couldn't have any friends. They could never imagine dating a woman because all women were sinful whores to her.
It's crazy that these boys just listened. They didn't sneak.
No, they didn't sneak. Henry, his brother, ended up getting married. He ended up sneaking and got away. And that was also true in the show. Henry did get away, and Henry rebelled against his mother and realized how insane his mother was. And
as we all do as we get older, once we see our parents' thoughts on social media.
Yeah.
Parents, your kids think you're crazy, especially if any of you post anything political. Whatever side you're doing, we're like, our parents are fucking nuts. So stop it, old folks.
Yeah.
Go back to wishing someone happy birthday and thanking everyone who said happy birthday to you, that your heart is warm.
Yeah.
Go back to that.
True. So, yeah, her psychological and emotional abuse that stemmed from her Christianity, this was 100% true. And it was a huge factor in Ed Gein's psychological decline because not only did he have psychiatric issues, probably at baseline, right? Then he had this fanatic of a mother who just used her religion to completely brainwash him and warped everything.
That's like what my mom tried to do. She was a few degrees off from this lady.
Really?
Yeah, like she stopped before, well, basically I was a little kid just thinking everyone's an idiot. So
I mean, you were probably very rebellious.
Well, because you realize how stupid people are at an early age. But like my mom, I was like 17 or 18, like before my mom left, like, and I ended up moving out or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
A girl would call the house and my mom would like literally pick up the phone. She'd be like, hey, can I speak to Russell? And she'd be like, don't call here anymore.
Really?
Yeah. I could be like 17 and like it didn't matter.
I think his mother, though, took it a step further at being like she was angry and mean.
Yeah.
She wasn't just a religious fanatic. That's one thing. She was not loving. I mean, she was mean and angry. She always said only a mother could love you, right? In the show. Them. No, I think she humiliated them. She said things like only a mother could love you. Like, you're worthless. Only I can love you. I mean, that I don't know if those words were exactly said, but I think Ryan Murphy did a really good job and that actress did a really good job of playing her and making you hate her. Like, the whole time I was watching her, I was like, oh, I definitely hate this lady. Like, that scene where they were sitting at the table eating dinner together and she's like ripping apart a chicken with her hands and eating it all disgustingly. I felt like that was very intentional, that whole scene.
Well, she ate the chicken how I eat my Costco rotisserie chicken after I get home from shopping at Costco.
It's true.
I dog that shit. I'm like, that's right. I got a good deal for $5. Ain't nothing I like better than a good deal.
That's funny. So I think that Ryan Murphy did a good job with that. His production company did a really good job. The writers did a really good job. The actors did a good job. Because when I was researching Ed Gein's case, and when you listen to anything about Ed Gein, that's a huge factor in his psychological decline. And I think they did a good job of showing it.
Wait, he didn't like how his mom ate chicken?
No, the whole way his mother acted.
Oh, yeah.
Towards him.
Yeah.
And her religious fanaticism.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I think he got right was the farmhouse, like showing how isolated they were out in the middle of nowhere, and the setting of where Ed grew up and the isolation that he experienced, especially after his mom's death, too. Like, you're out there in the middle of nowhere with no electricity and no running water, and you're sitting by candlelight in this disgusting house that is incredibly dirty. And in the actual case, he boarded up every room in the house and kept it almost like a shrine to his mother.
Well, if you think about it, if a single man is living in a house, he doesn't need all those other rooms. I think I probably said that in our original thing.
You did.
That's just more rooms to clean.
But
so, board them motherfuckers up. I don't need those. Or I wouldn't board them. I would close the door.
Why would you board them up? That's weird.
So just in case you get the thought to clean it, you're like, removing that board's too much pain in the ass.
Yeah, so he only lived in like the kitchen and the living room. And I think they did a good job of showing, especially as things went on, how disgusting the house got. The other thing that the show got right was the grave robbing. I mean, that was really what he was, obviously he murdered those two women, but all the body parts in his home came from robbing graves.
Which isn't as bad as killing someone.
Well, no, it's not as bad. But
is it illegal to dig someone up?
Yeah.
Not that I plan on it, but you didn't kill him.
Obviously.
Yeah, you didn't commit murder. That's why I'm asking. It's not it's creepy, weird, but you're not hurting anyone.
No, I don't think you're hurting anyone. It is weird as fuck, and it's probably illegal because you're there's probably a law defaming a corpse or something. I don't know, some law against it. But he was a grave robber, and he did take a page out of the Nazis' book. He became fascinated with Nazis and the Nazi scientists who did experiments on people, and he did upholster 2 chairs with skin. The lamp thing, I've seen mixed things about that online. If he actually did make a skin lamp or if that was just fabricated, I can't find a source that's accurate about that. But 100% he had skull bowls.
Yeah, that's crazy. He used to eat Fruity Pebbles out of the skulls.
Yeah. He did. That was in our episode. I listened to our episode the other day, and when you said that, it was funny because it's like a sound clip in our trailer now. But
what was really funny, I'm watching it with Jess, and he has the skull bowl, and I say, if he eats Fruity Pebbles out of this bowl, they listen to us.
Yeah, Ryan Murphy definitely listens to us.
That would have been crazy.
Yeah.
You know what? I bet there was no Fruity Pebbles back then.
There wasn't. No, I don't think it was around back then.
All you had was dry oats you had to choke on as you try to eat them.
But yeah, so he did upholster chairs. He did have bowls out of skulls. He was trying to make a woman's suit. He had the torso of a woman that he'd skinned to make a woman's suit. He really did use skin from a woman's legs to make stockings.
Oh, that reminds me of that song. I feel like a woman.
Oh, God.
Who sings that?
Shania Twain.
Yeah. If he had a radio, he probably would have been dancing to that song with the skin on. Well,
it's interesting because we don't know, because he's insane. So we don't know, was he trying to become his mother? When I originally researched this case, there are many sources that say it wasn't that he was a cross-dresser, because he wasn't. It was more that he was trying to become his mother after she died.
Is it possible that he just didn't have a shit to do? He had no electricity, no TV, and...
You're saying that he would skin some dead bodies out of boredom, Russ?
He had nothing to do. And
Come on, Russ.
And he
This is the dumbest thing I ever heard.
He had nothing to do, and he was slow. And he didn't know nothing.
No, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard.
I don't know, man.
There are
people get hobbies. People upholster chairs. We got an upholster chair from your grandma.
No, he did not just do it because he was bored.
Well, you start liking.
He's insane. He's completely lost it.
No, absolutely. But maybe he was insane and bored.
Maybe he was insane and bored, I guess. But no, I don't know.
Because know how hard it is to dig up a grave? Digging a hole is fucking hard.
Yeah.
If you have to dig a hole, a 2-foot hole, it's fucking hard.
I don't think someone who's bored would go through all that effort.
He was probably strong.
He probably was strong. During police questioning, he did tell cops that he wanted to become his mother at one point. So, the nipple belt, that was also real. He did have a box full of vulvas. That was real.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, he had all of these things, but
So a vulva's a vagina, right? If I'm right. Like,
do you not know what a vulva is?
I don't know the
You're a
word.
44-year-old man who is
Oh, I know how to.
straight
Well, I know how to.
and looks at vaginas.
I may not know the technical words, but I know my way around.
Yes, a vulva is part of the vagina.
I don't know.
Don't ask that question. Just Google what is a vulva, and you'll see a picture of it.
You ain't stick around for nothing.
You'll see a picture of a vulva.
I probably don't know what every part of a penis is called.
Probably not.
Well, I'll let you know one thing. I ain't studying dicks, so I may not know.
You're so weird. Another thing that Ryan Murphy got right was Ed's impact on the horror genre. Horror movies were about supernatural creatures, aliens, vampires. But after Ed Gein, horror became psychological. And at the time of Ed Gein's arrest, that's when the guy who wrote Psycho was writing the book, when this case broke and it became a media frenzy. And he learned of Ed Gein's relationship with his mother and then incorporated that into the Norman Bates story. And then Leatherface, obviously. Leatherface. We don't even have to question that. And Buffalo Bill. Buffalo Bill was inspired by Ed Gein and another person, but I can't remember who the other killer was.
Also, American Horror Story Asylum was sponsored. Sponsored. What word am I looking for again? Inspired.
Well, a character. Yeah. One of the characters in American Horror Story Asylum was inspired.
Bloody Face.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there's other ones that I'm just not saying because you guys wouldn't know the name. There's one called 3 on a Meat Hook.
Ew.
Yeah, I'm going to have to try to watch that.
Ew.
That sounds crazy. I have to screenshot this.
That sounds weird.
It's a 1972 movie, so you know. It says it's loosely inspired by Ed Gein's crimes. 3 on a Meat Hook is a fictional horror film which 4 girls' car breaks down. You know, the same damn thing.
Yeah, and then they get tortured, murdered.
Probably.
You know, so he did really, this case really did have an impact on horror, and it changed it because after that, psychological thrillers and psychological horrors became real. And then we realized as a society that monsters live among us.
Mm-hmm.
And that was probably really interesting. I bet they showed a lot about Alfred Hitchcock and when Psycho, debuted in the theater and people freaked out and had all of these gut reactions to it. People were running out of the theater and throwing up and stuff. And when you look back at Psycho, you don't even really see anything. But the psychological side of Psycho was very interesting. How he lived with his mother alone. He got really into taxidermy. That's how Ed Gein started. He got really into taxidermy at first. And then it progressed to bodies. So that's what the show got right. All of those things. What did the show completely make up? Because there were a few things that were completely made up in the show. Ed Gein was not a serial killer. So the whole serial killer narrative, he wasn't a serial killer. He wasn't methodical. He wasn't organized.
He wasn't planning shit out.
He didn't plan anything out. He didn't have a kill and then a cooling off period and then a kill and then a cooling off period. So he was not a serial killer in the classic definition of the word serial killer. He was a grave robber and he did murder 2 women, but no other victims were ever confirmed. So him chasing those 2 hunters through the woods with a chainsaw, all that was is for the show to show that he influenced Leatherface.
I kind of like that part, even knowing it was fake, but just to show how it influenced it.
Yeah.
I did like that.
You did?
Yep.
I thought it was so bad and cheesy. I hated every moment of it.
No, because I kind of knew they knew it wasn't real. I didn't think they were trying to trick me.
Yeah.
They were trying to show how that movie came about and their thought process.
I guess. I just found it so stupid. Him spinning in circles in the woods with the chainsaw was so dumb.
I don't know if he was spinning.
Yeah, he was spinning like Leatherface. Like Leatherface did in the last scene.
Well, he runs with a limp.
In the last scene, he's in the middle of the street, Leatherface, in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He's in the middle of the street, waving the thing around his head and spinning in circles, and that's what Ed was doing. I just thought it was dumb.
Well, you're not really a horror fan anyway.
I'm not
But
a
you do
huge
watch
horror
them.
fan. Yeah.
You do watch them now.
Yeah, I do. I've evolved in my horror. Like being with you, I do watch way more horror than I ever would have if I wasn't with you. Because you love horror. So
Yeah.
yeah, so they hinted at this like wider killing spree, which was not true. He didn't have a wider killing spree. He was not a serial killer in the classic sense. The other thing they made up for the show was the entire Adeline Watkins character.
I liked her character too so much in the show.
You did?
Yeah, I really liked it.
Why did you like it?
She was crazy, but like on the low.
Yeah.
Like when she had him go dig up the corpse of the lady she hated.
Yeah.
In a spiteful way, because she told this lady, when you're dead, I'm going to laugh at your grave. And then told Ed Gein, she was leaving, and she told Ed Gein to dig up, I'm leaving, and this can keep you company. You could have sex with her corpse while I'm gone.
Oh my God, it's so horrible when you say that out loud like that.
It was just so crazy to think of. Like, who would even think of that?
Yeah.
So it was like, oh shit, she's crazy.
She's nuts, yeah. And you know, it's interesting because Adeline Watkins is a real person. She is a person, but her character in the show was completely made up. So they portrayed her as an accomplice in the grave robbing, right? In the grave robbing. And they also showed her as the one who introduced him to the Nazis and concentration camps and the atrocities that Nazis were doing. They also showed her encouraging him to have sex with bodies. And all of that was completely false. None of that ever happened. She was a real person. And after his arrest in 1957, she came forward to a newspaper and claimed to have had a 20-year-long relationship with him. She told the reporter they bonded over books and they used to talk about famous murders together. But a few weeks later, once the article was released, she started backtracking everything. And she ended up recanting everything that she said in that original article. And another article came out, and she said that they actually casually dated for just 7 months in 1954, and that Ed, he would come over her house once in a while, but it was never like a big thing. They saw a couple movies together, but that was it. So it went from like this 20-year-long relationship to casually dating for 7 months. Ed never mentioned her once in any of the police interviews or with any of his psychiatrists. Ed told his psychiatrist that he never had a romantic relationship, that he's never dated anyone, and he's been completely alone his whole life. The reason they made up her character was to help humanize him, almost to make her look like this force that planted some of these ideas in his head. And that takes some of the responsibility off of Ed. It makes us as a viewer look at him as a vulnerable person who was already slow, who was already a little nuts. And then this evil girl comes in and plants some of these ideas in his head. And I think that served the purpose for the show.
So he could have possibly lived a completely different life had he not been led down that path of being crazy. But how do you get the idea to dig up people?
I know. Well, he was very inspired by Nazis. That's true. He was. But Adeline Watkins never existed in this capacity. It was also kind of trying to get us as viewers to relate to Ed and kind of feel torn and conflicted about him, which I feel like when you read online people talking about the show, some people do feel really torn and conflicted about him, and like some people do feel sorry for him,
like he didn't know any better.
Yeah, almost like he didn't know any better. And that's something the show did using Adeline Watkins' character, because
they made her just as crazy though. She just didn't do things personally. She kind of had him at least dig that lady up.
What was interesting about her character is she was also nuts, but she was calculated.
Yeah.
She came off as evil, as
she wasn't
spiteful.
Nuts and dumb. She was nuts and regular.
And calculated and smart. And like you can't be nuts and regular.
You could have regular smarts, like a regular IQ.
Yeah, like she seemed like she was planning things, like she was mischievous.
Yeah, regular, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say.
So I think that they were showing that for us to kind of feel bad for him a little bit. And some people really did feel bad for him based on the show. And I think in our episode, actually, back in the day, you and I both said, just based on the abuse that he got from his mother, we both said, you actually are the one that said it first. You said you feel sorry for Ed.
A little bit, because I do know people that, I don't know, what do they have, like Asperger's or autism, or I know people like that are adults, and they could have been easily led down a path to thinking that living a certain way is normal. But they were never taught that.
We know someone specifically who was our next door neighbor for years.
Who was the best.
Who we love him to death. And he's got autism. But he had a wonderful father who taught him how to fish and got him into a union position in a railroad.
He took the test for him.
Yeah.
And got him the job.
Yeah, he got him the job in this union for the railroad. He made good money. He ended up getting married. And
oh, yeah.
His wife passed away and he lived alone as our next door neighbor. And he's
simple, but he's also like, everything's old school. His tools are old school. Like, you know how like you drill a hole in wood, but no, he got the one that you crank.
Yeah.
You know, like he learned all the old school ways. And I always said that if the world ended, he has all the skills to make it, and I would die.
Yeah, he really does.
He goes down there, he gets his clams, he gets his fish. He's set in his ways. His dad told him which butcher to go to. So this is where he gets his steaks all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and like he lives just fine. And then a lot of times I see his car gone in the middle of the night and I'm like, he's fucking hookers.
Oh, God.
What else he doing?
He was our next door neighbor for 6 years in the Bronx.
But I also knew him a long time because my mom lived next to him.
Yeah, and Russ knew him for years and years.
Since I was like 18.
And he is a sweet, sweet man. So incredibly sweet.
And Ed Gein could have been that guy, I felt like.
And him and Ed Gein are very similar in that of like their simplicity. However, Ed Gein had an abusive mother and Sylvester was raised right.
Mm-hmm.
And his father was good to him. And you can see a clear difference that you're right. I think if Ed Gein was not parented by who he was parented by, his life could have gone in a totally different direction.
Yeah, Sylvester bought me a bottle of Jack Honey for Christmas.
He did, yeah. He's such a sweetheart. Oh, him and Biggie were such good friends. Biggie loved Sylvester and Sylvester loved Biggie.
They were the same person.
They were so cute.
They're both
together.
bulldogs.
They're so cute together. They really were all the time.
Yeah.
So Christine Jorgensen and Ilsa Koch, the Nazi, and the first person to ever have a transgender surgery. Those two were big inspirations for Ed in the show. And they completely were made up. I mean, that was not anything on the real Ed Gein's radar. In the series, Gein becomes obsessed with both of them. And Ryan Murphy kind of used these characters to explore Ed Gein's sexual confusion, which there was no evidence of. Although it was a huge part of the show, and he was trying to make a woman's bodysuit out of the dead bodies, there was no other evidence that he was sexually confused. There was no evidence that he ever cross-dressed or put women's lingerie on. None of that was ever talked about in real life. That was all made up for the show. And although Ed was inspired by Nazis and inspired by the experimentation that they did on people, he didn't specifically become obsessed with the bitch of Buchenwald, which is, you know, the magazine. He had like this fantasy about her in the show. None of that was real.
Was she a real person, though?
Oh, yes, she was a real person.
Wow.
And she was a disgusting human being.
Hopefully skin that bitch.
She was, I think she was put to death maybe for war crimes, or at least put in prison for war crimes because of the things she did. She was horrendous.
I'm actually kind of interested in that. I might look her up.
I told you I would do a case on her, and you said you didn't want to.
Oh, well, as the world turns, I've changed my mind.
Yeah. Another thing that was completely made up in the show, and this is the thing that I think I have the biggest problem with, is his two victims and how they portrayed them. I had a really big issue with this series with that. It really pissed me off, to be honest with you.
I said the old lady was a freak. And they didn't even have a relationship, right?
Yeah. Like, that was all made up. So Mary Hogan and Bernice Worden were his two victims that he murdered. Mary Hogan was a bar owner, and she did, according to other people in the town, she did have a mysterious past. People don't know where she came from necessarily. There were rumors about her because she's a woman in the 50s who owns a tavern and bartends. And back then, that just wasn't something women did.
If it's mysterious, that means it's none of your business.
Well, that's not something women did. And this town back then was like Pleasantville. It's a very tiny, tiny town in the Midwest.
And it's black and white.
And yeah, your black and white brain is probably thinking of it that way. But, so you have this woman who owns a tavern and bartends, and people are going to be like, why is she doing this? So it was never confirmed why Ed murdered her. There's never been like a motive put out there. But Ryan Murphy used this as an opportunity to show her as this sinful woman. So I think Ryan Murphy kind of used her as a way to show a motive. She's this sinful woman who bartends. She's got even in the show, when the cops come to his house and question him because his car was there, he said, she has a past, And I think they were using it to show that his mother's influence was so big that she was, there was this voice in his head of his mother saying that this is a sinful woman and you need to kill her, pretty much. The other thing, with Bernice Worden, I got really upset about this one because they portrayed her in the show as this middle-aged, wacky slut who was kinky and encouraged Ed to cross-dress. And none of that is true.
She seemed like a load of fun to me.
Bernice was well respected in her community. She owned a hardware store, and her son was a sheriff's deputy. This was all completely made up. And to kind of portray her as this, yes, she seemed fun, for sure. But to portray her as like this whack job, kind of slutty girl, middle-aged lady, I don't know. I just feel like it was very disrespectful. If I was Bernice Worden's family and I saw this show, I would be incredibly pissed off. Wouldn't you? If they portrayed your grandmother like that?
If I knew her, yes. But if I didn't know her...
I'm talking about if you knew her. There's no one if I didn't know her. Her family.
Oh, then I'm giving Ryan Murphy...
Her son. Her son knew her.
Then I'm giving Ryan Murphy a wedgie.
Her son found her body hanging in that barn.
That's crazy.
And that's true.
And that's something that if they made up, I'd be like, no way did he find his mother. You know what I mean? Like, you'd seem like that can't be.
No, her son was one of the cops who found her body headless and gutted, hanging upside down.
Wild.
And I don't know, just to portray her that way, it really pissed me off. It was unfair because maybe she was like that, but we don't know. So to just make it up for your story, I don't know. To me, it was disrespectful. I think with both victims, Ryan Murphy epically failed. He could have dived a little deeper into these women's lives and their stories, but it came off to me as extremely disrespectful to them and their families, and almost treated them. They were just kind of used to push a narrative. They were used to show the psychological derangement his mother caused, because in the show it painted them as like bad or shameful women, sinful women. And I find it really unfair, and it kind of pissed me off. And honestly, once Bernice Worden, that whole situation happened, that couple episodes or maybe one episode with her in it, I was kind of over the show at that point. I was like, this is stupid. This is way too far-fetched.
Well, I took it as, at that point, I was Like, you know what? This is just entertaining, and it's not like a biography type movie.
It's not, but people who are watching this now who don't know the case and don't know that Bernice was not like that, they're going to watch it and think that's who she was, you know? And she's a real person. This isn't a made-up story. She really existed, and she really was murdered. Brutally. You know what I mean? So, like, it's just unfair. Feels like Ryan Murphy didn't have any empathy for the families. And the families were a complete afterthought to him.
True. Maybe because it was just so long ago, and he figured, like, their children... I don't know, are their children even alive?
Yes.
How long ago was this?
Their children are probably still alive in their, like, 70s or 80s.
Damn.
This happened in 1957.
Huh.
It doesn't matter if their children are alive. This is their legacy. What did the show completely leave out? One thing that they completely left out was the collective trauma that the town endured after. Because the townspeople were shocked. It's not like they suspected Ed of anything. It's like the way that we see Sylvester, right? Imagine, like, we see Sylvester as this, like, Sylvester was our neighbor. He was a sweetheart. Him and Biggie loved each other. I love Sylvester. I mean, he's a wonderful human. And he's like a guy, like we said, simple guy. He has old tools. He's so sweet. And then you find out that he's doing all this. No one suspected Ed Gein of any of it.
You know what? If it was Sylvester, I'd be like, they probably deserve it. He's so nice.
But
I'm a hashtag free Sylvester.
But, you know, like, no one suspected him. He babysat people's kids.
That's crazy.
And in the show, that's another thing that they got completely wrong and false, is he was a good babysitter. He didn't actually do all these scary things to these kids, like pull out a dead body's head and like put it on his head and all that. None of that really happened. He babysat kids and people trusted him. The town trusted him.
It just made it more entertaining.
Yeah,
crazy.
That was all entertainment. But there was a collective trauma because this is the 50s. Nothing like this has been heard of up until this point. So the collective trauma that the town felt, it was a real thing because the media went crazy. This was a media frenzy, and they all came to this small town and took it over. And the people weren't ready for it. This is like a tiny little innocent town. They don't want to be known for this. And a lot of them ate the venison that he would say he killed these deer and gave his neighbors venison. And so for like a bunch of them, they were throwing up because they were like, did I eat people? You know, they didn't know if it was human meat that they ate.
Yeah, but they already pooped it out.
But it's still disgusting to think about. They were disgusted and they were scared.
Hopefully it was fresh.
A lot of residents after this moved away from Plainfield because it was like so traumatic. And the show didn't talk about, the show shows like this whole auction and like as if the residents were going to go buy it. No, the residents were horrified by this.
That's so stupid. You know, if people moved every time there was like trauma in their town, do you know the Bronx wouldn't have one resident?
I'm sure it wouldn't.
Like, man the fuck up.
But this is a different place and a different time for us. This is like the epitome of innocence in a town. I mean, it was just like a tiny little town. It was in the middle of the country, farm town. Like, this is not like the Bronx, okay? It was a totally different world there. I feel like in all, the show was decent, like I said, if you're looking at it like a work of fiction, right? It's not a biopic. Most of this is not real, most of the stuff that happens. So you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt. Every episode that I write, I always have like a couple paragraphs at the end that I call my final thought, like Jerry Springer.
Like your closing statement?
Yeah, like Jerry Springer did. His final thoughts. Is that what he called it? His final thought?
Maybe, but it's it's the shit he said at the end.
Yeah, his monologue. So I wrote this about my final thought on Ryan Murphy and this series. I've always liked Ryan Murphy's work. American Horror Story was so good because I really did. I loved American Horror Story. I look forward to it every year when it was coming out.
I liked Renoki.
Roanoke. Russ to this day still calls it Roanoke because he didn't know that it was Roanoke.
Well, that's how I said it, and now, to me, it looks like Roanoke. And now, Virginia's not that far. Maybe I should go to Roanoke.
No, this one wasn't Roanoke, Virginia. This was Roanoke. I think it's North or South Carolina.
That always
It's a different Roanoke.
Oh, that always confused me. Like when I came to Maryland, and they're like, "Oh, I'm from Brooklyn." There's only one Brooklyn. Every other Brooklyn doesn't count. Maryland, Brooklyn, that's a fake place.
Yeah.
Anywhere else, Brooklyn, that's a fake place.
Well, I grew up in Brooklyn Park, so
That's fake.
that's where I grew up.
No, that's fake.
Anyway, so I loved American Horror Story. It was so good. And I think that Ryan Murphy does really good in the horror genre. I think he does a great job making dark stuff cinematic. He does a great job at, especially with American Horror Story, like bringing you into a story, creating really weird characters. But with Monster, I felt something a little different. I was a little disappointed. When you tell a true story, you're no longer creating fiction. You're holding someone's life in your hands, right? And when it comes to people like Ed Gein, the line between truth and entertainment gets blurry because the case is so insane. It's already insane on its own. So it gets blurry when you're trying to add this entertainment factor to it. The way Bernice Worden and Mary Hogan were portrayed in Monster wasn't just dramatized, it was deeply disrespectful. It turned real women into horror props. And that's not art to me, that's exploitation. And I say that as someone who gets it. Like, I'm fascinated by the human psyche, too. I'm fascinated by what makes people do unthinkable things. That's why I have a true crime podcast. This kind of stuff fascinates me and has for years. Real-life monsters are compelling because they force us to look at what humanity is capable of. And I'm enthralled by those stories. But keeping ourselves in check is imperative. When I write my cases, sometimes it takes me forever. Russ will tell you, it takes me forever to write a case. Not because I don't know the story, but because I'm constantly walking that tightrope between storytelling and sensitivity, between intrigue and integrity. I am a storyteller, but these are not my stories. They belong to real people who lived, who suffered, who mattered. As creators and as consumers of true crime, we have to remember that, because the moment we stop seeing the victims as human, the moment we stop checking ourselves, we start to become part of the problem. Ryan Murphy is a genius in making horror. But when you're telling the stories of real people, it shouldn't be about shock value. It needs to be about respect at the same time. Because in the end, empathy is what separates us from the monsters.
Well, that was a good closing statement.
Well, thanks.
Like
But that's
that.
really how I feel.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like, when you tell a story of real people, there's a balance somewhere, and you got to find it. But we're telling the real story, and he's making shows. I don't think he's claiming that this is 100% fact if you go and check. There's no way he would.
Well, I'm sure he's not claiming it's 100% fact, but he's also not coming out and saying that this is half of it is made up. So, like, it's almost like a lie by omission.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're calling it Monster, the Ed Gein story. In Monster, the Menendez brothers, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, by saying this is the Jeffrey Dahmer story, by saying this is the Ed Gein story, by saying this is the Menendez brothers story, you're claiming that this is the true story.
Well,
It's like a lie by omission.
he's laughing all the way to the bank.
He probably is, but it's exploitative. You know what I mean? I mean, he's going to come out with another Monster series, and I'm probably going to watch it.
Who's next? I think they said.
Oh, yeah, Lizzie Borden. I probably will watch it because I'm going to want to see what he does. But I have to say, I like the American Horror Story series 10 times better than the Monster series.
As they say, take it with a grain of salt. I don't know what that means. It just means there's a lot of salt, I guess.
I do think Charlie Hunnam did an amazing job playing Ed Gein. I think he transformed himself. And
I couldn't see it.
Really?
For the first episode, about halfway in the second one, I kind of started to buy it. Probably about, because I watched Sons of Anarchy for, 8 seasons maybe? I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
So
you got used to him as Jax.
Yeah. And there was an Irish accent kind of coming out here and there.
There was. I think he was trying to do a Midwestern, like Wisconsin accent, but I could hear like an Irish accent.
Well, that would be
almost.
like, don't you know?
Yeah, it had a bit of an Irishness to it. I could see it. But yeah, I think that so far out of the 3 series, American Horror Story is way better. Way better.
Yeah,
That's
I
just
didn't
my opinion.
love the Dahmer one that much. It was fine. This one's fine.
You didn't watch the Menendez brothers one.
Yeah, I have no interest in that. I don't know why.
Yeah, you didn't watch that one. So curious to hear what you guys think. I think as consumers of true crime, we do need to be responsible in yes, we can consume it, but we have to remember these are real stories and real people and real victims.
That's true. I forget that often. Even as we're talking about it, sometimes I feel like it's just a story.
You feel like it's just a story, but it's not. These are real people who really died, and they really have families, and they really have a legacy, and we need to respect that. I do think that so far in the last couple series, Ryan Murphy is falling short when it comes to that. I think he's making a lot of money, becoming very popular in the horror space, and I respect him for some of his work, but these last 3 series, I'm like, you're really missing when you're in a true crime genre, you got to be careful. There's a real tightrope that you got to walk. And I don't think he's doing a great job at it.
Well, the shows are made well and they're entertaining. And if you're looking for the true story, go watch a documentary.
Mm-hmm. Or listen to Wife of Crime.
That's true, too.
Because, over the years, my research has gotten A++.
Yeah.
I don't mess around with my research. In the beginning, I just, when you're first learning how to podcast, it's a little different. But our show has evolved. And my research and my writing has evolved because I've focused on it. I've taken writing classes. I've really tried to focus on becoming a good storyteller.
And you got better at it, and I got better at...
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning back in. Russ definitely got better at something. We don't know.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you next time.
Have a good week, everybody. You'll hear from us again on our next episode, and I'm so excited. I've been researching this next episode for weeks and weeks, and I can't wait to tell stories, multiple plural stories in our next episode. Super excited. Check us out on Instagram at Wife of Crime Pod and Facebook at Wife of Crime The Crime Family. And what else? Patreon at Wife of Crime Crime Family and wifeofcrime.com for all the merch. See you later. Bye.